Are you tired of just wasting AI tokens on tools that don't really get you results? Are you looking for a better approach to actually minimize token usage, but at the same time actually has your standards built in from the get go? No more wasting time on refactoring or just wrestling with the agent just to get it to do what you really want. Well, if so, then this video is for you. I actually want to show you Open Agents Control, the framework fundamentally that changes how AI builds and codes. So most tools are like this. You ask, it builds, and you hope it's right. Where open control comes in, you ask, it plans, it understands your standards, you approve the plan that comes through, then it builds, and then it validates, and the cycle repeats. This core difference means you're actually in control. You can customize it with your own standards and context, and it actually plans everything before it actually executes, which means it's a lot more human guided, but it gets a lot better results. Again, this is the best part about all of this. It actually learns from your standards. You define them once in context files, and the agent then follows them automatically. No repetition, no guessing. You just have to code and direct it where it needs to go. This is pretty much the principle of Open Agents Control. It's about you guiding the AI. I'm a big believer in human augmentation in terms of work, and this is where this principles come in. So we'll be diving into that in this video today. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you how you can install it, how you can build an e-com website with it, how you can manage coding standards, how you can extend or evolve your system, and some key differentiators that you should probably know about. So this is Open Agents Control on the screen above. This is actually a repo I've been building for the last 6 months, but I actually wanted to share all the standards that I have in here. Essentially, the whole premise of this is about control. How do we actually make sure the agent is going down the track that we care about, not just assuming what we want? And this is kind of where a lot of this comes in. It's all around pattern control and approval gates. We want to make sure we can actually get repeatable results. Because if we can't get repeatable results, how do we actually rely on our agents? And the other thing I also wanted to make sure with this kind of framework is, well, this could work for me, but you might need to change a few things to suit your use case. And this is where the last tube comes in. It's you can edit your agents and it's team ready. Why is this team ready? Well, it's got a nice little context system under the hood, which you can then change for your team or your project updates, and everything is shared across teams. So you kind of get like a repeatable result. And you're not having to worry about is people really following the right standards or not. And this is kind of where all of this comes in. So let's just go through. Like generally, if you just use AI, you're like, cool, hey, give me some code. This is what I'm trying to solve. And you get a result pretty much at the top here. But you're like, well, I actually care about, type validation and ZOD. And this is kind of where it reads your standards from the get-go and actually gives you the result from a first try, not just some random code that doesn't really suit your code base. And you have to then reprompt it to, review according to your standards and then update. Don't need to do all of that. So the main difference is this is all very context aware. We don't try and hide anything. I'm trying to make sure that this framework is very transparent so you actually understand how everything works under the hood. The one big thing with context files that I don't think I've heard many people talk about is this concept of like MVI, minimal viable information. So this is like the one technique I put in with this context system is this concept called MVI. It's minimal viable information. You're only storing as minimal amounts of information as possible per file, but also targeting the files that actually have more information in. So you could have like a brief description of what certain systems does and then point to the folders for the AI to get more context if it needs. So the AI doesn't need to scan through file names to try and understand. It can use those simple context files to understand where it's going. So there's quite a few different comparisons between different tools here, but I want to go into that. I actually just want to get to the get started. For most people, I say just you can run this script. It's going to set you up with the developer profile. All right, so if I just grab this and run it for the get-go, just to show you how that looks, this is going to just install the developer profile for us. And you can see here, it's just ran through everything and it's installing as we go. All right, so we can see it's finished installing. And if we look at the top left here, we can see .opencode folder has been installed. And then here we've got agent, command, context, skill, and tool. The main ones that you probably want to look at is context and agent. And the main ones in each, in context, is core. So in your core system defines how your context system works, your standards, your system, task management, your workflows, Essentially, everything is in here that you should know about. If you want to change it, you can come in here. All right, and another context folder you should really look at is project intelligence. You kind of want to fill this up with your own project base, give you some of your thoughts behind it. So if we just open a few of these quick, so we can just see, business domain or the purpose, like why this project exists. We can then also say like business to tech. How do we referencing like business to tech like relations? How does that actually translate? Because sometimes business jargon doesn't always mean the same in tech jargon, and you might just need a folder for that. And you can have a decisions log just saying why certain things have happened in case you need that for your project. And you just have some living notes too, just in case you like want to add some to-dos and things like that. You can add it in here and just fix it as time goes. Navigation, this is in every folder. This just helps AI understand what is in each thing without having to read each file. This is just a quick index essentially of each one. And your technical domain, like what's the purpose, primary stock. All right, so out of the context files, those are the main ones. You can always add your own. So if we're just looking at the documentation here, once you actually stored everything, you can actually start creating, or you can actually start adding your own context here. You could add your own stack and things like that, and it'll run through that for you. But before we do that, I just want to show you one other thing with the interactive installer, because we did the quick install here. And the main reason why I want to show you this is if I go back here and I actually get the interactive installer and say I want to actually update. So I'm going to go local. It's going to run through. I'm like, okay, I want to choose a quick profile. And we can see in here, we've got the few. We've got essentials, developer. We already got developer, business, full, and advanced. I actually want to put advanced here because there's this system skill builder that I want to show you. But I want to show you how this looks. If I tap 5 here, it's going to look through everything and it's going to see there is some like overlap. So it's showing all the components we can install. I'm just say yes. Then it's going to say, hey, there is some context problems here. You've got files that actually already exist. I could say, skip existing and only install new files and keep all existing files unchanged, or I can replace all files in my system. I'm just going to press 1 because, this is just a new install. So it's going to install each one, but you can choose between those options if you do want to do an update. So this is a simple way. So if you do customize your own agents and you're just wanting to install what's new, if there's new context files or whatever, you just select the option that best suits your needs. There we go. So it's installed. And we can see here what's mainly installed in terms of Meta. We can see there's a system builder. This is the main one that's been installed, and a bit more context has come through from here. We've got this system builder context to help us build our own system here if we wish. All right, so we're just going to copy this Opencode command here, and we're just going to run this. So what is OpenAgent, just so you guys know? This is for your non-coding tasks. Maybe you want something a bit more free-flowing. You don't really want all the complexities with OpenCoder. This is where OpenAgent will come in. I'm actually going to press Tab again and just go to OpenCoder, because I think this is what 95% of you will really want to use when coding different applications. All right, just to show you the capability of this, I'm actually going to just tell it, hey, I want to build a Next.js e-commerce auto processing site with Drizzle using SQLite. One thing you'll note is I have nothing really here. I've just got that install.sh that I used and then the .opencode. So we're going to just run install here. I am using Minimax M2 free, so we'll see how this actually benefits a lot with this. And one thing to note when using this system, whatever your main model at the moment is what's delegated to your subagents. You can change this if you go into your agents and you go to your subagents here. Okay, guys, and if you want to add your own model to like any of the agents, you can just come here and you just go model. And if you want to know what is the provider slash model ID, you just need to go to models.dev here. You'll see at the top. We just zoom this in a little bit. All right, so I'm going to just search here Zen. I'm going to look at the Opencode Zen, and I'm going to look at Claude Haiku 4.5. So the family is Claude Haiku, and the provider is Opencode, and this is the model ID. These are the two ones I really care about. We can see it has tool calling and all the rest of it. So I'm literally just going to grab this one, Haiku, and I'm just going to come back here. provided was Opencode, and if we now run this, it will use our Claude code, our Opencode haiku model for context. But for this example, I'm just going to take it out. We're not going to use it for this. We'll just use the free model just so I can show you guys how things work. All right, so let's just go through what's happening in the session. So we asked it, hey, we want to make a Next.js site here, processing with Drizzle with SQL. So it's going to first go, let's just discover everything in our context. So if we go to the context scout, we just go to the top, it's like saying, hey, this is what we're trying to build, understand everything. So it's like, okay, let me find the context files, let's find the repo, it's going through everything. And it's saying, hey, we need to search for these files. I'm not seeing any like Drizzle SQL patterns anywhere. So it keeps searching and it doesn't really find anything. And we can see at the bottom here, it says, okay, it found several important files. There's several files referenced for Next.js, but found these files, component planning, external libraries. And that's part of the UI context. If we go here, there's some UI for React. But we'll see here at the bottom, it kind of gives us like critical priority. It says Opencode standards. It gives all of this external library workflow, critical workflows for handling external packages, Next.js OAM, mandates external scout for high things. So it's telling it, hey, we need to use something else to get these external libraries that we don't have. We go back to the top one, we can see, okay, now let me fetch this documentation for external libraries that we're using. Now if we go to, I'm going to just minimize this, go to external scout now, and we scroll to the top, it's got a request here. Okay, we need to fetch this. And it says, okay, we need to fetch an app router. Let me find external task document Next.js. I need to detect the libraries for the registry, find documentations, filter for relevant sections, and then actually make sure we're writing context out so we don't have to do the search again. But anyway, so we can see it just went and generated this .tm, this template file here, and it's got this external context. And we can see it's just adding different ones here. So this is that Next.js here, just put some app routes and stuff like that. And this manifest.json just helps keep track of what's around. If we go here, propose plan, we're going to say build a Next.js e-commerce order processing site with Drizzle ORM with SQLite. This is the project setup, etc. And we're also going to say this is like where the standards we're going to use. So it understands this is the context that it needs, and it understands what we're going to do, 7 document files. It's just asking for approval. I'm going to say approve. And now this should start building our next. All right, this is very important here. You can see it's actually starting to read some of the coding standards that we talked about. So it's actually getting pulled into context memory. And this is very important because it's not actually filtering on the whole different context files and things like that. It's only getting what's needed. And this is the core thing. We want to keep this context as low as possible for accuracy's sakes. So here it's just adding a context for the plan, just in case we ever need to just /new. We can also do that, and we can just follow the plan again. This is just some context standards to make sure things follow a certain way. And here's the master plan. We just talking about, okay, how things going to connect. So it's just thinking this through. What is this? The tables for the Drizzle ORM SQLite and everything like that. And then it's just sending stuff to the task manager here. And this is just breaking it into certain tasks. So you just think about. Again, one thing with the task manager, benefit of this is if we can run things in parallel, it can work. So we can see here, this is the task.json, but we can also see here in the subtask, we've got this flag here, is it parallel? And that just allows us to run it in multiple agents if the flag is true. So we can see most of this is false just because of the nature of install and how things should work. And what's nice is with these .task files, we can always make sure we're reading the right context files. The main theme here is how we're passing the right context to each, because without that, we can't really build correctly. So say if I close a session, how do we get the context back with all the planning that we just did? It's kind of wasted. Kind of want to refer to the main context files that we care about. We don't need everything, but we do need good direction. And that's what context files are mainly for. Hey guys, if you're building with AI and you actually want to connect with other people or connect with me directly, I'm actually going to start a community. The link is in the description down below. I'd really like to understand what your main pains and issues are. If you want a cohort or community style with maybe a weekly call, please hit the link down below and give me your thoughts. Essentially, you'll be seeing the website on screen. and essentially just go and sign up. You can just scroll through, read all of it, but just come to the end form here, give your first name, your email, and just decide what you want, and then any thoughts that you might have that could contribute to building this community together. Really want to make sure it's with value and it's everyone's best interest in mind. Thank you guys, and I hope to see you in the community or cohort when it does launch. And this is just the first stage. We're building this incrementally. Anyway, guys, back to the video. There you go. It loaded the tasks and it scanned them. We're just going to say approve. All right, so we can see now it went and read that context file. So it knows what context it needs to use. All right, so we can see it's done with the first stage of tasks, and it's just coming back like, hey, this is all the stuff that was done. Should we continue from subtask 4, order processing service, and implement the business logic layer? Just say yes here. We can also maybe change, say we saw something above we didn't quite like. We could say, hey, let's update this before moving on. Just say yes, continue. All right, one thing you'll see here, it's actually implementing an error class logic. This is just because it's carrying some of this from our standards. So it actually understands that we want to make errors a bit better. And it's just inferring all of this according to the standards. And again, if you want to see what it's using, what's nice is we can go to the tasks again, and we're on subtask 4. So if we just minimize this, and we can actually come here, we can actually see the, the standards it's using. So we can see it's using standard control and security patterns. Those are the two ones that it is. And it's also got some reference files for Drizzle RAM documentation. And it's just, this is the files, lib errors, and things like that. So that was part of the planning. All right, so we can see the Next.js application is compiling, and it's just checking this off from our tasks. So now it wants to do API routes next. All right, I'm just going to tell it here, proceed until all remaining tasks are done, so it doesn't need to ask me each time. And this way it should just run through. One thing I am keeping a note of at the top here, I always look at this context window size. I never really want this to get above 100K. So when this gets to about 100K, I actually start thinking about compacting. And some of you might think that's a bit weird, but the reason why is as soon as we get to about this amount, performance starts to degrade with AI performance. So we really want to make sure we're trying to keep this context window as low as possible. As I'm seeing this, if I see there is some issues, I can just compact it without any worries. The reason being is because in these subtasks here, we have all the relevant context files it needs, including the .temp, and it has the access to the context scout to get more information if it needs it. So I'm not too worried if we need to compact. So again, just watching that number at the top, to see if it gets too high. If it is, we're at a good spot, I'm going to compact and then carry on. All right, so we're above that 100K mark. Let's just see if we had a good point to stop. So I'm just literally going to interject here. All right, so I'm just going to tell me where we are and mark the task where we completed. And I'm just going to see, are we at a good place? So we've done 1, 2, 3, we've done 8 tasks. Okay, so the next one's integration and things like that. I could just let it carry on and it probably would not be too bad. But again, I just want to highlight to you guys how to actually think about working with AI agents here, just so you're always getting the best bang for your buck, especially in terms of your time and your money. All right, so I'm just going to go compact here. So we can see it's pretty much implemented with 9 of the 10 tasks. There's a few CS bugs, and we still need to do our integration testing. All right, so we can see it's pointing to the context files where we worked at, and this is say continue where we left off. And we should see once this updates, our tokens at the top will drop. All right, so we can see it's just reading back what was it trying to do, every little thing, and it's reading the app pages, and it understands what it needs to do. All right, we can see this finally worked. It kind of had some issues when it was building. So it was just struggling with a lot of the builds, but it kind of got all of that working. So we can see it did all of that and it's checked what's happened. So it's for local deployment. All right, so this is actually something I like to do when I'm building projects. I try to ask like, hey, what did I actually learn from this? So it just gives like a general description. Then what I'm going to use is, you'll see like that we've got some identifications here, like user authentication, all this is off. So instead of just like going compact and getting rid of this, I'm actually going to go /context here. and I'm going to say harvest. All right, so I'm going to tell it slash context harvest the current learnings and here. So it's just going to do a slash command and tell it how it should extract all of this. So it understands how it should extract. So it knows it needs to try understand what it needs to do, and it's going to start installing this in the slash context. One thing to note though is because it is at 120,000 tokens, I don't always expect this to be very great. So what I might do is I might ask it to call the sub agent, the context manager, to just confirm that all of these are correct and following the right standards, because it probably is not going to be following the right standards, just because when it is at a higher context limit, it doesn't do very well. Doesn't matter the model. This is just general viewpoint of things. All right, so we can see it harvested the learnings, a little bit bigger. So we can see it harvested the learnings, it updated some context files, and it will be updated. All right, and if you actually want to know how to add your own standards, you can use this add context command here. So we're just going to copy this. One thing to note, make sure you're on Opencode here or Open Agent just to execute this correctly. The reason being it needs to understand context count. So we're just going to go add context here. And essentially, it's going to set us this prompt that we can then start understanding. So it's going to try and understand all the context files that are there, and then it will give us. So what this is going to do first off is it's going to just scan through our current context files, then it'll give us the summary and ask us if we want to change anything. This is your option now to actually update it, and then this will do those edits for you. So I'm trying to make the system as easy as possible to maintain and just understand what's going on. All right, so we can see the context, add context is finished running, and we had the context count just run through everything. And this is what it's kind of found. It's found our context dashboard, it's giving a list. External docs is none, which is not quite right, but it's just because context count does not get that. All right, so with the first stage as this proposed approach, it's going to run the 6 questionnaire to capture my tech stack, API components, patterns, naming standards, security, and then generate some technical domain according to the questions. So we're going to just say proof. All right, so we can see it ran through our context files here, and it's just giving us some external docs that were fetched. And pretty much what it's going to tell us now is we can review or update patterns, add new patterns, or replace all patterns. So we can choose 1, 2, 3, or 4, or cancel. So this is say we want to add an update. This is say add new patterns. Let's just go to, we can say here, this is say button Next.js, and let's say better. I think that I'm just going to skip. Don't really want to do all of this now. And this is example components. We're just going to go skip again. We don't really need all of this. Naming conventions. All right, so then it's asking for TypeScript, what kind of ones we want to look for. I'm just going to say, I want modular type safe code standards with Z validation, functional programming. And I'm just going to say, what security measures do we want? All right, and then I'm just signing up for the security vulnerabilities, etc. Like what I want is validate input, look for cross attacks, and just don't expose any private data to. All right, so here we've got the breakdown. It's kind of like pulled everything in, and we're going to improve these edits. And we can say yes, and it'll just update our context files for us. All right, and then we can see it just went and updated all our context files. It's updated our project intelligence with all this kind of stuff that we care about. And then it's just asking us for any other things. And if you want to do a context validate, you can just run that. And then once you've done that, you've added your context and you validated it, just to see if there's anything else. This is pretty much the flow that it's always going to follow. It will read your context each time. And it just makes it special because it's kind of easy to solve for the whole team. It just has inbuilt standards, it's repeatable. All right, just to finish off, it actually finished everything. It did its test coverage. It did 40 tests. It did some UI updates. So it ran through everything accordingly. One thing I did add while I was waiting for this just to run through its test, I actually just opened up a different node here. And I just went and I updated some of like the fonts and stuff and just run its tests. I actually opened a different one here. Did Opencode using the Gemini 3 Pro, just update some of the UI. I actually used a Flash for a little bit of this and then just Final Touch on Pro and then updated it. All right, and then while I was waiting for this, I just started updating some of the UI site. So I just told it to update a lot of the site. And we can see that over here. So it's just starting to update it with a few little changes. I just want to change the color from green to something else. But if we just have a look, this is kind of the site we have. So we have integrated testing. So if I put like this limit 20 and we do a search, see if there's any products for 20, nothing, we could find product match your criteria. So, okay, we can see all of them pop up, which is quite nice. Let's just go like 30 here. Let's see if that works. Okay, so that works. All right, we just do a quick add. Okay, so we've got no functionality there, so we'll have to go and update that. But let's just look at the shopping cart. We do have that. We've got the 4 right there. Proceed to checkout. Got the shipping address. Some of the stuff could just be a bit tweaked for the UI. We could, it's got some validations, orders. We've got some fake data here from our testing. Pending, proving. So we can come and update a lot of this and proceed to checkout. What's nice is we've actually got a working database where through this, not too many prompts, and we actually want to look at the coding structure. We've got quite a decent little app here. We've got our DB, it's got our indexes, nicely done. It's got our API, which has got our cart, our routes, all the basic stuff. It's got a cart, checkout, surface, orders, following some decent standards here. And if we actually look at libs here, we've got our error, our cart store, our validators. Everything's kind of neat in one place. We don't need to worry, and it's following all the standards that we. One thing to note is I was trying to use the smaller model there, the M2.1. It does work. It just takes a bit longer to actually get better results. So the better the model you use, the quicker you get results. You don't have to worry about old training data and things like that. That was like a lot of my main problems. Like it just the model wanted to use certain packages more than others, even if you stated it, and it would catch itself out quite often, and then it would have to change it. So that was one little thing. So if you are using this, just try and make sure the model is tuned for your purposes. All right, so that was Open Agent Control. We could just build a very simple e-commerce website that had some products and some styling and things like that. Hopefully you guys can see the benefit of it. It goes step by step and it just builds components a lot better. And just to show a different use case is the site that you're seeing on screen. This is all built using the same framework. So everything in here was also just neatly built by that. Same kind of principles that goes into it. It is very easy to start building on top of this. Like I said, I use this every day for my own work. And what's nice is just the testing and like controls, especially when a more complicated code base, you really want to understand how it's grabbing different information before it implements a plan. So you can kind of guide it where it needs to go. I'll probably do future videos on bigger projects with that because that's the main idea with this. I think for fresh projects, I'm starting to notice there is a lot of gaps I need to fill, but I've been mainly working on mature code bases. So if you wanting to find something that works really well with mature code base, this is definitely like the framework to use. I'd love to hear your thoughts and your feedback. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.